Radrey.
That's the English, right? Or what's your real name, man?
My real name is Radley.
Oh, Radley. Okay,
Yeah,
I could have guessed that, I guess, but
yeah.
yeah,
Uh, Let me hold on a second. Let me do the guess I should say the stuff, say the
yeah.
words.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'll do my intro.
Sure.
Welcome to another edition of Why Come Japan. I'm your host, Mr. Radrey. Here on this show where I interview creatives or creative people. But today on my show is podcaster, hiker. What other monikers can I give you?
Uh,
Any others?
Podcaster, hiker, and just normal dude, I guess.
Normal
I
dude.
don't really. As I've said in a previous podcast, I don't really do labels, but I am what I am. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, do you, and I'll
yeah,
do
yeah,
me.
exactly. And this is also the Lone Star Under the Rising Sun podcast, and we're doing a joint podcast together. So this is great.
Saves on time.
Yeah, yeah. It saves us from doing two episodes separately. So
Indeed. Actually,
yeah.
no, I wanted to tell you this before we got into the thick of it, like the thick
Okay,
of the interview.
sure.
I have to say, you have like the perfect podcasting voice. Really.
Really,
Like, I'm serious.
I've heard that from like so many people, and I just I don't know. I've never heard that before. So thank you. That's cool. That's cool.
Well, let me put it this way. It's like if I wanted to have somebody like to narrate ASMR type videos, you'd be perfect, It's like
Oh,
I feel very calm, when
yeah,
listening
yeah.
to your voice. I don't feel this kind of like urgency or this sort of like
Mm.
it doesn't sound like a person a good example of somebody's like Gilbert Godfrey. It's not like one of those kind of voices,
Well,
Kind
I'm
of
very
like
glad I don't
juxtaposed.
sound like Gilbert Gottfried. That's I like Gilbert Gottfried, but I would not want to sound like him. That's for sure.
Could you imagine listening to his voice for an entire podcast?
You know, I would listen to one podcast from him, and then I would immediately shoot myself in the head, probably. So.
Well, it would always be like, what's we were just mentioning a podcast before we started recording. Like you say, you watch Joe Rogan. Like if Joe Rogan had him on his podcast, would you listen to the entire thing?
No, no, and like I said, I'm very selective with listening to his podcast these days, and if I don't know, like I like Gilbert Gottfried enough throughout my life to I would at least be interested in what he had to say, but God help me if I had to sit through 3 hours of listening to his voice. Same with like Bobcat Goldthwait, you know?
Oh yeah, that guy
Yeah,
also has a strange voice.
yeah, yeah. He's apparently a really good director now too. I haven't seen any of his movies, but I've heard he's quite skilled in that field as well.
He did a movie called God Bless America, which I thought was just okay, but
Yeah,
some people really liked it.
yeah. Like I said, I haven't seen him, so I've actually no clue what he makes movies about. But I've just heard through the internet grapevine that he's a director.
Indeed.
Yeah.
So tell me a bit about your background. You're from Texas and you've been in Japan for how long?
Actually, I just celebrated my 10-year Japan anniversary, if you want
Oh,
to call it that,
Jesus. The
2 weeks
same
ago.
as me.
Yeah. Oh, really? 10 years? Yeah.
Well, almost 10 years. Starting next year will be 10 years.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I first set foot in Japan for the very first time, August 23rd, 2008. So, yeah, I I've been here probably 95% of the time. I did go back to the States for a small bit of time, but I consider myself having lived in Japan for 10 years. So,
That's a long time. So that's like since 2008? Is that
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
because I got here in 2009. So you've been here quite some time.
Yep, I was here before smartphones. It's weird to say that, but you know,
Yeah, right. I mean, yeah, you can say that.
yeah, like everyone had what they call now garake, which is like the old flip phones that some old people still use. But like my very first phone was a SoftBank sort of flip phone that was a tough phone. It there's a funny story about that phone that I might get into later, but I if it weren't for SoftBank, I would have probably kept that phone for a long time.
Huh. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm with SoftBank too.
Mm.
It's weird that they call them garake phones. Like it's like Japanese. What do you call that? It's like it's Galapagos, and
Yeah.
K means like as the way you open it up or something.
Yeah. It's I forgot what they call like the shortened version, but it's it's not only borrowed from the outside like the guide Eigo, but it's also like a shortened version of that. So, for example, like Jimi Hendrix is Jimmy Hen. You know, like they do shit like that here all the time. So it's
Yeah, it's true.
yeah.
So
But
where in Texas are you from? I mean,
um,
sorry to interrupt.
I pretty much just say Dallas because that's the closest big city.
Oh,
If I
okay.
if I tell people where I'm from, most people go, "Huh?" You know, because it's such a small, minuscule town. Um, we do have some claims to fame, actually. And in 2008, we had in the U.S. a nationwide news coverage about a UFO sighting. Of
Okay.
course, in the South, in you know, in hillbilly country, where you're going to see UFOs. But Larry King did a whole show about it, so that was fun.
Really?
Yeah, and we're famous for pretty much having a nice high school football team 20 years ago, and having a lot of dairy, and then the UFO thing. Other than that, no one gives a shit. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
All
yeah.
right.
But I pretty much just say Dallas. But I've lived in Houston as well, and that I really enjoyed that city. So I kind of claim Houston as well. Mm.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, because I've been to Texas before. I actually used to live there,
Did you?
and
Where about?
well, it was a long time ago. Before I had it in a memory, I was like 4 years old, so I
Oh,
have
okay.
memory of it. Probably it was
Do
in
you?
Houston, I think.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Was it Houston? Shit, I don't I don't know. I have no memory. It was near the it was near Corpus Christi. Where's that? Is that Austin?
No. Corpus Christi is kind of a bit south of Houston. It is on the coast, though. Was it Victoria? Do you live in Victoria?
Maybe. I'm not
That's a big
sure.
spot in that area. Corpus Christi, Victoria. Yeah. I've lived all over the state pretty much, but
Okay.
yeah. How where are you from originally?
Well, I was born in New York State, not New York City.
Yeah.
The other New York, as they say. But I lived majority of my life in Colorado
Oh
Springs.
man, that's if man. See, if I ever moved back to America, that's where I'd go is Colorado.
Oh,
I
really?
yeah, I went there last year during the summer for 11 days solo trip, and I just fell in love with the place. It was great. Rented a car and just drove around and fell in love with the state. You know?
Yeah, I mean, especially if you're into nature, it's a great place. I mean,
Yeah, yeah,
you're always making podcasts about hiking, so
yeah. I
it's
enjoyed it,
perfect.
man. It was. I felt it was like a second home for me, just from being there for 11 days. You know, it was great.
Indeed.
Yeah, but
So,
what I have a question though. What
yeah, sure.
originally brought you to Japan?
What originally brought me to Japan? Actually, I was going
Yeah,
to ask you the same question.
well, we can
Let
answer both.
me ask you this:
Sure.
when you do your interviews, because you've recently just started changing the format of your show
Yeah.
to where you've okay, before it was just you solo or you're talking, and now it's you have guests.
Hmm.
Um, what prompted that? Were you just tired of talking to yourself, or
Well,
seemed like
to be honest, you know, until people started saying things about me having a nice voice for this thing, I honestly didn't think that I had quite a nice voice. I It got to the point where you know I used to make YouTube videos before I cleansed my channel, and
okay,
I always felt a bit honestly I just felt a bit awkward doing videos, you know. So I was never really comfortable looking at a camera doing that. But for some reason, just talking into a microphone just feels natural to me. But I just felt it was a little bit self-serving or self-centered if I just focus entirely on things I wanted to talk about. So I wanted to actually honestly showcase. My goal was to showcase other people who've come to Japan and what they do, and what their motivation was for coming to Japan, and showing people that there's so many different opportunities of things to do in this country. The image is, you know, come here and teach English, or, you know, that there's like usually two images of Americans or Westerners, sorry, Westerners in Japan, and that's English teacher or in the military. And I wanted to actually showcase people who have come here and branched out and done other things. Not only, I mean, English teaching is fine because I still somewhat do that, but it's I just wanted to show other people that, you know, if you're ever thinking about coming to Japan, you can do almost anything here. It's a, especially for a Westerner, your options and opportunities are vast in this country. You're not just limited to one small section in the job market, you know?
Yeah, that's very true. I mean, I read a book one time called Freelancing in Tokyo once. And they said the one great thing about living in Japan is Japan will pay you to get better at the thing it is that you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? Like whether it is you want to become a better musician, like maybe you could play in live houses because I need somebody to play music, or just, I mean, just the various kind of stuff. Like whatever it is you're trying to get better at, you can find outlets that'll help you mold your craft, so to say.
Right. And now with the internet, you can, man, like, people don't understand. I think a lot of people don't understand the vast opportunity that the internet opens up for people to just do whatever they want. How old are you, if I may ask?
No, that's fine. 31.
31. Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm 33. So we're around the same age.
Okay.
And so you remember a time before the internet was really big.
Yeah.
Maybe even before, like, do you remember like getting your first computer and hooking up to the internet and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, and you had to like use a phone and everything.
Yeah, yeah.
Tell people
So
to get off the phone.
so
Yeah.
we come from a time where we remember time pre-internet. Obviously the internet was around, but it wasn't mainstream. But we remember a time pre-internet, and we remember a time we pretty much grew up when the internet was becoming important in the world. And now it's, you can't imagine a world without the internet, right?
Oh yeah,
So
it's ubiquitous, you know?
right. So for me, it's such a cool thing that you can, like, for me, the internet is such an awesome thing because of what it has become, you know, and younger people who've grown up with just having the internet already in its kind of current state don't really get that, you know what I mean? So like the opportunities are out there to just do anything you want, and it's opened up so much for a lot of people, I think.
Yeah, it's become a really interesting beast the last couple of years.
Oh yeah.
Definitely evolved into a strange thing. I can say that much.
Yeah, I would agree with you on that. It's kind of become its own entity in a way, you know? Like not to say that we've ever really controlled it, but there are people who have realized of what it's become, and they're trying to control it now. You know, with at least in the U.S. with the recent net neutrality thing, and you know, there's just so many people who, one, either understand its power of what it can do and want to keep it that way, or two, don't want to keep it that way and want to control it for themselves and control the flow of information for people. So,
Yeah, indeed. Well, I guess I don't know. Going back to your question about why I came to Japan, since the show's called "Why Come Japan," and
yeah,
everybody kind of always asks that, and that's fine. I mean, it's, you know, it's a conversation starter. You know,
yeah,
and some foreigners hate hearing it, but who cares? I mean, you're a guest, you know, but
exactly.
or you're
You only hate it when you get asked it the 30th time in the same night, you know.
I don't know. I usually like getting asked the same questions because sometimes I can think about better answers. Like, because sometimes I say certain answers, and I'm like, that really didn't fulfill like what they probably wanted to hear, or that didn't really, you know, make the conversation go anywhere. You know, it was just kind of
Right.
a dead-ended conversation. Like it's a yes or no answer. You know.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, to answer the question, I'll answer it differently this time because I always say it the same way. Uh, what brought me to Japan was, I guess, the connection that people had to uh, Japan, like just general people. I mean, like people like I'm going to mention filmmakers like um, Quentin Tarantino or Ridley Scott, and there's just pieces of Japan that related a lot to them. And they've gotten something out of it, and it made them. I guess you want to. I guess I could say more exotic. I'm not sure, and that's partially why I wanted to go there. Just go somewhere that was vastly different than the rest of the world.
Yeah. Yeah. I completely understand that. That's part of the reason why I came here as well. That just that exact reason. It's just it was so different than what I was used to growing up in, you know. So I wanted to experience something very alien to what I was used to, you know.
Yeah, there's definitely that. All right, so I was doing some research while I was. Oh, actually, that brings me up another question I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So when you do these interviews, do you just start talking, or do you like have a script, or do you?
No, I don't have a script at all. Uh, I pretty much I have a set of like a format that I want to follow, but
Okay.
it's a very loose format. So basically, I just want to get into the mind of the guest. Number one, when they came to Japan. Number two, why they came to Japan. Kind of like your concept. But then, you know, number three, and what they do now and how they came to do what they do now in Japan. And it doesn't matter if they've been here 1 year or 10 years. I want to see what their journey was. And like I discussed with a previous guest, you know, I feel everyone who's an expat in Japan and actually just an expat anywhere in the world, we all can kind of relate in some way. You know, it doesn't matter what any sort of political or religious or any sort of views you have in that regard. You can relate to an expat in some way because they have a bit of a free spirit and vagabond sort of feeling. You know, they want to travel somewhere. They want to get away from what they were used to. And I always find that fascinating, like the reason why people do the things that they do, you know? So that's kind of basically how I go about it. And wherever the conversation goes after that is I leave it really up to the guest. I just want to let the guest talk about themselves and you know what their motivations for doing what they do are. You know, I guess I've just always been really interested in human psychology that way.
Yeah, yeah. Did you study psychology in college?
Um, Not as a major or a minor, but I took a lot of psychology classes as what do you call it? What's the extra classes you can take just to get credits? What was that called?
Mandatory classes? I don't know.
Not mandatory. They're not mandatory,
Or
but you take them to supplement the rest of your to like fill out the rest of your curriculum. God, it's been so long since I was in
curriculum core classes. I don't know.
yeah, something like that. Well, anyway, I outside of my core classes that I was required to take, I just filled them up with psychology and political science and you know things that I was interested in, you know, those type of classes.
I see. Well, like, because usually when you go to Japan, they like, especially if you want to get like an English job, kind of like as a starter job before you move
Yeah.
on to other things, they usually want like a degree of some kind. I studied communications,
Yeah.
so that was good enough.
Um,
I mean,
I,
you can get a degree, pretty much anything they'll take you. So
in Japan, yeah, that's the thing that you know a lot of people don't realize is you don't need an English certification or anything to get an English teaching job in this country. You just need a college degree, pretty much. And then in some cases, you don't even really need that. It's I wouldn't I wouldn't recommend you try to do it because you're in for you know a harder struggle to get into this country, but you know it is possible. But having an English or sorry, having a college degree is really all that's required for you to get a job here in Japan. Um, Native English speaker also helps as well, if that's what you're going for.
what did you major in?
I started off with computer science programming,
Really? Okay.
and I was never a good math student at all. I I just got those out of the way. Got my solid B in college algebra and said, forget the rest of that, you know. But then
Yeah.
when I started really getting into programming, I realized, yeah, a lot of logic and math is kind of required for to, you know, to just kind of follow it. So instead of this is the mistake I made there was instead of actually just putting my nose down and saying, you know, forget that I hate it and just do it so I can get better at something that I do like, I just gave it all up and I switched to another topic that I like, and that's history. So I switched to a history degree. Come to find out, that's pretty much a useless degree unless you want to be a history teacher or work at a museum. And I
Or a
didn't,
lawyer.
or yeah, which I never considered that, but history teacher and museum curator, neither of those sounded very interesting to me at all. So I said, well, after I graduated, I said, now what do I do? You know?
Yeah, yeah.
So
Yeah, no, I had a big interest in history as well. I almost majored in it, but I kind of wanted to graduate, so I didn't do it.
yeah, man, for me, history was just a gimme thing. Like I could just sit in the class, not take a single note, and just absorb what the professor was saying and ace the tests. You know, the essay tests at the end of the semester. That's just how interested I was in the subject.
You like never took any notes or anything?
Not in my history courses, no. In other courses, I did, so I could study. But history, I pretty much just listened and absorbed.
Yes, that
Yeah.
is true. I remember we had this one student in our class, and our teacher referred to him as John the Tutor, and he had like this crazy hair, and he never took any notes. He just sat there and listened very attentively. It's
Yeah.
almost kind of like he was very studious yet creepy, but but
Studious yet creepy. I can probably recall, you
both.
know, several people that I went to college with that were like that. So
Yeah, but like not creepy to the point where like he's unapproachable.
mm.
Just sort of like, oh, this guy's a little strange. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Eccentric.
not saying
Yeah.
that's you. I'm just saying that,
Yeah.
you know, like when I think of people who don't actively like take notes in class and they're very intent and they're listening, like either one, their listening skills are really, really good because like you're an English teacher, right?
Yeah.
You do Kaiwa or what? What's your background?
Well, right now I manage two schools.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
All
I've
right.
kind of started filling in that role, but I'll still occasionally teach some lessons. So
Mhm.
um, kids and adults. So yeah, but that's what I started off doing was English teaching. So that's um, that's how I got my start here, and that's what I've evolved into doing. What I do now is into managing schools.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna bring up that sometimes like when you're like you're teaching kids, a lot of the times they're not paying attention to you. Like maybe even adults too. Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's just sometimes like whenever I meet somebody who 100% listens to like what I'm saying, I'm almost kind of shocked almost.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't do that. It's just I do feel like I have a presence in the room, which feels rewarding in a way. But
Yeah, for me, being an English teacher was the last thing I ever thought I would be. Well, when I say English teacher, let's make it very clear. A lot of English teaching in Japan is not like English teaching that you would understand in, you know, back home. Um, what I kind of focus on is getting my students to speak. That's
oh
how I
right.
approach English teaching. So I try and limit the amount of time that I speak in the class as much as possible, only to facilitate their conversation. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
So that's my philosophy in it anyway. So
Yeah, usually asking like open-ended questions and
yeah.
ones that don't have yes or no answers. Yeah, it can be a challenge sometimes. I mean, like I was so used to living in America for a long time where just the people, they won't stop talking, or they well, not to be negative, I shouldn't be negative, but I'm just to the point where like they knew how to carry a conversation even though they didn't know they were carrying a conversation really well.
What I've come to understand is Americans especially do not like awkward silences, but
Okay.
other cultures are okay with that. And that's just something that I still don't like, but I have to I have to understand that some cultures are okay with silence sometimes, you know. And so
Yeah, that is true.
yeah.
I guess I never thought of it that way.
Yeah, man, it has taken me literal years to come to understand these some things. You know, if I go back and look at myself from 10 years ago, just starting in this, I would slap myself like, dude, you're doing this completely wrong. But you know, everyone is a beginner at something at some point, so you can't be too harsh on noobs too much. You know.
Yeah. Well, because I teach children who are returnees, and it's very interesting
Yeah.
teaching kids that have come from different backgrounds.
Hmm.
For example, like whenever I get students from the US, they're always very talkative, but eventually they stop being so talkative once they come to live back here in Japan.
Hmm.
Or I have ones from uh, Europe who are somewhat, I don't know. I mean, I'm generalizing like hell here, but
You're going by your experience, you know.
yeah, I'm
So
going by my experience. Uh, but yeah, that's definitely a thing. I see what you're saying is that silences are obviously a thing that exists in Japan. It's not considered awkward, or you think it is awkward, or what do you think?
like I said, I've come to accept it as not awkward. I still feel awkward just because I'm culturally conditioned to not enjoy an awkward silence. But if everyone around you is not feeling uncomfortable, then you know, I've just become aware that they're not. You know, it's one skill that I've learned from living here is how to observe and read other people's body language.
Mm-hmm.
And to show that demonstrate that what they actually feel and what they say might be different, you know. So as you know, you understand the concept in Japan of honne and tatemai, right? Like
Oh, right. Yeah.
like the
Public.
real feeling versus the mask that's put on, right? So
Yeah.
being around that for as long as I have, you know, I've come to try and observe when someone is telling me the truth or not. And I still may not always get it, but I've become better at reading that. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, it's a little bit of a learning curve, or at least I did. I went
mm,
through that. Uh, even like the dating scene here in Japan, there's a quite the steep. Well, not steep. It was a learning curve. I'll say that.
it's very different. You're right. No.
Takes some getting used to. I mean, what are all those like? You read all those things on the internet about how language learning, and they always say learning Japanese is the hardest. Is it? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Like I struggled through Spanish for 12 years in school, and I still I know I retained a little bit of it, but I taught myself Japanese in a few years, you know, and like half the time it took me to get just remedial Spanish. So I think it just depends on what your focus is. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like I didn't want to learn Spanish, but I wanted to learn Japanese. That was
Le-
my motivation. So
At least you can read Spanish. So, I mean, sometimes because like you have to do like the whole. There's a method called the Heisei method. Did you ever use it to learn Japanese?
yeah, yeah. Actually, when I first moved here, I I was just kind of wading around in deep waters. Pretty much, I threw myself in. I knew less than 1% of the language here. I knew, you know, what words you learn back home, food and pop culture stuff. And so I came here, and within the first month, I guess I went to some volunteer classes,
Mm-hmm.
and I started asking some of the other students, "So, how long have you been in Japan, and how long have you been studying in this course?" They're like been in Japan 10 years, but I've been at this course for 2, and they're still going over like greetings. And I said, well, if these people have been here this long and they've been in this class for this long and they're still going over greetings, I do not need to be here because this is not where I come to learn. So I took the book that the teacher gave, and I just went on my own with it. And I just through research, I found on the internet, I found a method called AJAT, all Japanese all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I know that guy.
yeah.
Knew
And
that guy. I don't see him anymore.
is he still in Japan?
He's still in Japan. I forgot what he's doing now.
Yeah. I'm sure
I
he's
mean,
making bank off of his website is what he's doing. So
he did, but he's very smart. I mean, I don't know exactly what he's up to though.
yeah.
He's very
I'd actually like to talk to that guy. He's very he motivated me to learn the language. So he is indirectly helped me come to where I'm at. So but he anyway, I took that and I learned about Hasig through him, and I kind of modified AJAT and Hasig to fit my own style. So I modified it to make it my own way. You know what I mean? So that's how I
yeah,
learned.
it
Yeah.
definitely helps. I mean, because sometimes like you read the stories and the stories kind of help to like paint a picture of like what each character means. It's really freaking time consuming, but I mean, maybe that's why they say it's the longest one to learn.
Yeah. Well, I took I still have the Hasig book. I think. Yeah, I may still have it. I don't know if I have it here. I may have left it back in America when I moved back for a short time. But um, I started off doing the Hasig method, making the stories, and I thought, man, this is just too time consuming. So what I did was
It really is.
I looked at kanji as like Legos in a way, like building blocks, and
Yeah, I
all
can
the
see that.
radicals that made up something. I knew, okay, well, this one has something to do with this, right? So, but then I found this website called I Know, like small I and then the word KNOW, I Know. It was free at the time, but now
Hmm.
it's a pay service. But they basically had an electronic flashcard system with audio and full sentences in
Oh yeah, I
Japanese.
know that thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and it would do the SRS method. So like you would grade yourself on how well you remembered whatever it taught you, and you would see the ones that you had trouble with more often, and the ones that were easier were more spaced apart. So, um, what's the SRS? It's like spaced repetition or something. And I just studied the hell out of that for a while, and then I imported it all of it into a program called Anki, which is an electronic flashcard system program that you can download. And I just beasted that every single morning. I'd get up, I'd get my breakfast and coffee, and I would just do that before I went to work. I wouldn't like watch TV or surf the internet. I would just do that. And after that, I wouldn't really touch much Japanese, throughout the day other than what I had to interact with people with.
Yeah, I mean, once you have a good system, it's nice to do some studying. It feels a little bit rewarding. I
Hmm.
started getting back into it recently with this new program
Yeah.
through Tofugu. You know Tofugu?
Yep. Yep.
Uh, he has this new website or this kanji one where you can study kanji called Wani Kani, which is pretty good. It's kind of fun, like good to kill time if you feel like you're struggling on your kanji.
Hmm.
Especially, it's like if I go to the doctors or if I go to the tax office, they hand me this paper with all these huge kanji, and I'm like, I have no idea what that is. I don't know if I'm not sure what your kanji level's at, but I still stress that stuff out.
That's the
Like,
first thing I taught myself, man. Like
yeah,
after hiragana katakana, I just beasted the hell out of kanji for months
really.
until I was comfortable with sight kanji, and then I started reading actual Japanese with furigana, which is
Mhm.
like it has the little hiragana next to it, so I knew how to say the words. But once I understood kind of the meaning of the kanji and read the furigana, it just sort of slowly came to me. And
Right.
there's still kanji I come across where I'm like, yeah, I'm not sure what that means, but I can kind of guess from the stuff around it what it means.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I just kind of I just kind of wade my way through it. And if I don't understand, I'll just ask the person. And I said, what this specific kanji, what does it mean? And they'll explain to me. And I'm like, oh, okay. And then I'll kind of write it down on a little notepad and I'll take it back. And if I want to study it, I will. If not, I just tell myself, I'll see it again. So, I'll ask again. If I've come to not really give a damn anymore. If I make a mistake, it's like, oh, oops, I'll just relearn it somewhere else,
Yeah, that's true. Because like when I first started learning Japanese, I only mostly just learned because like, man, I can't talk to anybody here. I can't talk to the guy in the kombini. I can't articulate myself. This is annoying.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if you went through the same thing.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. I mean, that's the worst feeling in the world is when you can't communicate with somebody, and you don't want to be like this kind of caveman holding up a pigeon going, like that sort of thing,
It's so embarrassing.
Yeah, yeah.
Man. How would you rate yourself now? Would you say you're like 100% comfortable? You feel like Japan has become you now?
Well, I'll say this. I didn't take the Japanese language proficiency test at all until
JLPT?
Yeah, until about 6 years in, and then I started. My very first one was level 2, and I passed it.
Oh, congrats!
Yeah, and after that, I thought, well, I'll study for level 1, and I studied for level 1 a bit, but I didn't take level 1, and since then, I've just sort of stopped studying because I use it in my everyday life now. Like, with some of my employees at my job who speak no English, I have to speak Japanese to them. I have to write Japanese emails. So for me, that has become my study, is just using it in my everyday life. So that being said, I'd like to get back into studying just to see, but now that I speak it, write it, and read it every day, I don't really need to study anymore. I've been able to find my own apartment, do car insurance, car inspection, all the important day-to-day life bullshit you got to deal with, I can get through. So for me, I'm not perfect at it. I'll probably never be perfect at it, but I'm comfortable enough to where I can kind of manage my way through any situation that I come across, I would say. Yeah. How about you?
Well, I don't know. I'd say quite the opposite, actually. I mean, well, not 100%. I mean, I haven't really taken the JLPT at all. I think part of what it is, or at least I think a lot of like foreigners in Tokyo, even partially myself as well, like a lot of them kind of really struggle with learning Japanese because most people in Tokyo, they only really want to speak English,
Right.
and they can't be bothered with, well, it's like sometimes like I go to like restaurants and they automatically just start speaking to me in English. I'm like, okay, so we're speaking English. All right. I'm not going to be rude,
Right.
So then I realize like this person's English is really, really annoying me, where
That's when you switch to Japanese. Yeah.
Yeah. And I usually switch to Japanese and I get the job done. But, sometimes there's certain things like I can't articulate because I get caught up in other stuff. Because I've listened to older podcasts of yours, and you've always talked about how you're kind of against the idea of living in a big city like Tokyo.
Yeah.
You liked it, but you would never want to live here. That's right. That's what you said, right?
Yeah, that's just me with cities in general. Like I lived in Houston, and while I enjoyed it, I did not love it. It was just dealing with too many people, too much traffic. It was just not my environment. I'm really more at home in a smaller place, and Tokyo just happens to be a very, very large metropolitan area. That's why I don't enjoy it to the same extent that other people do. So
Yeah,
nothing
like,
against Tokyo in itself.
No.
It's that's just me.
Like I feel like you're, at least from people I've met, I would have more of an interesting experience living in the countryside because I would have less things to do. to have more time to just focus on my studies. But
Yeah, I get you what
that's
you're
where I'm
saying.
at.
The city I live in is not small by any means. It's a city of 500,000 people, but for Tokyo people, that's the countryside. So,
Hmm.
but it is quite boring if you're used to a city like Tokyo. I
Hmm.
would say that. Yeah, it is quite boring in that sense. So, you make your own entertainment sometimes.
Yeah, I mean, it was quite the juxtaposition from like where I lived in America. I lived in Colorado, where you pretty much needed a car just to get anywhere. I mean, you could walk to certain places in town; they'd take you about 30 minutes,
Hmm.
like walking distance. But uh, like I just got so used to just not having everything at my convenience. It was a little odd, but I don't know. Part of me wants to stay here, and part of me would like to go to the countryside.
Right. Whereabouts in Colorado were you from?
Colorado Springs, if you know where that is.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
That's actually Red Rock Canyon was like my favorite place in Colorado. So,
well, I tell people Colorado Springs, but I actually lived in a place called Green Mountain Falls, which is a little more up in the mountains.
okay.
And then we moved to, well, my parents moved to a place called Woodland Park.
Yep, I drove through Woodland Park. That was a cool place. Yeah.
Yeah, it's all right. I
Yeah.
mean, but don't have a business there because everything goes out of business because it's like one of those drive-by cities.
Well, man, it's changed though. I would say really in the past 6 years,
Hmm.
Colorado has completely changed. Have you been back there
Yeah,
since?
I've been back a couple
Yeah.
of times. You're
Okay.
talking about the marijuana law, right?
Well, I mean, yeah, that has changed the state completely. I mean, there are so
Yeah, it
many
has.
businesses and people opening up there, so that's it's definitely it. The downside is it's making real estate there super expensive, but you know, it's that is what it is. But I just noticed places were just under construction everywhere. I mean, just stuff being built everywhere. So it's definitely becoming a booming state with a lot of outsiders coming in. I know a lot of Colorado ites. I don't. What do you call it? Coloradoans don't
Color. I
really
think it's
like
Colorado.
outsiders invading their state, but
Yeah, there's a
that's
couple of bumper stickers going around. It's like say stuff like "Don't Californicate Colorado" or something.
those
Um,
California people are moving to Texas too, man. So
are
I
they?
mean, we
Okay.
we uh, we understand Texan people from Texas understand the same sentiment. So
Hmm.
nothing
Well,
against
what?
people from California. I like California. I just um, it's like Tokyo. It's like I love visiting cities there, but because of the for California, because of like the cost of living, the taxes and all that, it's just I would never live there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I'd consider it, but I'm not particularly interested in going back to the States, at least not right now.
Yeah, yeah. San Diego was great. I loved San Diego when I went there, but that's a very expensive city if you if you live there.
Pretty much all of California is expensive, unless it's like nowhere near the coast, I think.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
who knows?
But so what you came here? What did you start off doing when you moved to Japan?
What it was the first thing? Well, I mean, I came here originally for college. Maybe I should mention that.
Oh yeah,
I
okay.
came here for four real things. I said this on the last episode with Simon Nochanama, if you know who that is. He was just in chat there. Uh,
Yeah, I know Simon. Hey Simon.
I think he's gone now. He had to go
Oh,
do something. But um, there's really three things. One was college. Number two was I'm quarter Japanese, so I want to know more about my heritage. Three was um, I wanted to live somewhere overseas, somewhere that wasn't the U.S. and wasn't Mexico or Canada. That
yeah.
really felt like it was overseas. Um, yeah, and I also wanted to finish. I guess like I said, college. So I guess just three. Oh no. Fourth one was I was interested in film, and I was
Okay.
interested in Japanese movies. So that's like my main motivation for living here.
Are you a Kurosawa fan?
I am a Kurosawa fan. That's actually what I started out with.
Good. Yeah, yeah.
Started out with Seven Samurai, then went off to the Yojimbo, then Sanji Hito, then Rashomon. They
Yeah.
pushed that in other Japanese filmmakers and some more modern ones. Met a few of them, real life.
Right. Yeah. That man, that's cool. Ron and Dreams are still some of my favorites from Kurosawa. Some of his later films are quite special to me. But
Yeah, really good color, huh?
mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, I went through a phase of being a bit of a film nerd too. So I enjoy some good classic cinema.
Yeah, good classic cinemas.
Yeah.
It's good. But okay, so I wanted to ask you, I saw that you wrote a book called How to Move and Work in Japan. This is on Amazon.
I did. I did. It was my first foray into writing, so I it's um it's a good guide of how to get here. It's a bit technical, so it's not really telling a story or anything. There's some parts that are a bit of a narrative, so that's cool. But it's really just a step-by-step how-to guide of companies that are good to apply to get here if you want a quick way in, and some of the basic bare bones tools that you'll need. It's made for like absolute newbies who have no clue what to do, how to get to Japan. Um, and like I said, I'm not a trained writer or anything, so it was my first toe dip into that. So may not read the best, but it's from people who have purchased the book. They have said that it's very helpful, so that's good.
Huh, yeah, it looks like it was I was looking up here on Amazon.
Mm.
You wrote it in 2016. That's rather
Mm-hmm.
recent.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. I mean, what motivated you to make it? Was it just like you was something you wish that you had, or
Yeah, like I mean, I wouldn't trade what I did for anything, but it is nice to kind of have a guide to know what to do, to learn from, and even throughout the various stages of my YouTube channel, I've always had the mind of trying to help people who want to come here. And because if I could do it, I thought anyone could do it. And I wanted to show that. So YouTube videos, the book, and now the podcast, I mean, these are just different outlets for me to do that, to help people who want to come here for whatever reason they have. Doesn't matter to me. I just want them to know that you can do it. It sounds like kind of motivational fluff bullshit, but it's true. I mean, I'm a firm believer that if you set your mind to do something, you can accomplish it, and you just have to have the motivation and the drive to do it. So
true? I
yeah,
mean, what is it? What is it? You had a. I mean, sometimes I've often thought about writing books, but I've never really. This is only a digital book, right? Or is it a
it
print
is. Yeah,
one?
it's Kindle only. I haven't thought about making it a paperback or anything.
Okay,
If
so
it
like
became
this,
popular,
it did it.
or if it became more popular,
Oh, if it became popular, I see.
yeah, it's not exactly a bestseller, but it does get a steady what should I say, a steady stream of purchasers. I guess there is a steady stream of customers that buy the book. So, but if it became more popular, I would consider that. I have considered writing more books, just to hone my skill, because it's a skill that I'd like to improve on, and two, there are different areas, more focused areas that I'd like to talk about as well. So
Yeah, no, I mean that's writing books about. I mean, you didn't. Oh, let me ask you this: you didn't write it for like one person in particular, did you?
no, no, I just had the general person who would like to come to Japan in mind.
Okay, because like you said that you manage a Kaiwa places. It wasn't like something like, man, here's this noob. I really wish he had some advice. You know,
No,
wasn't anything like that.
no, to be honest, the people that work for me, um, they have no clue about the book or anything. So they're actually doing quite all right for they have a much better head on their shoulders than I did when I first came here. So in 10 years, I'm curious to see where they'll be when they're, I would say they're about 2 years into it,
Hmm.
and they're at the level that I was about 5 years into it. So I mean, they're a little bit ahead of the game. So it's kind of cool seeing some people who are really switched on in that sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I kind of wanted to talk about like who motivated you to make YouTube videos? Because you said that we were talking off the record here, so to say, about how you used to have like tons of videos on YouTube about hiking and
Yeah, yeah. So, um, to be honest, my goal was never to be a J vlogger. Like that's not something that I was really I didn't even know about that scene, so to speak, and until I started making YouTube videos about living here. Um, but once I started doing videos, I started noticing recommended videos from other Japan-based YouTubers, and so I started following some of them. One guy, Kurt Bell, he was really motivating for the hiking. I always just
no,
enjoyed his hiking videos, just out in Japan. And now
Softy
he's
Papa.
yeah, Softy Papa. He's out in California now, and he was really into like philosophy and thinking. And I find a lot of hikers are very similar, have a very similar mindset because when you're out there in the wilderness, you have a lot of time to just think about things, and I related to that. So those hiking videos were inspired by him, I guess. The other videos I made were more not based on were not influenced by any other J vloggers, so to speak. It was just my own motivations for coming, and I wanted to share that. So
So you mean there's nobody like that said, "Man, I want to make a video just like that guy." You just sort of you just kind of had this motivation that that made you want to record your experiences,
yeah,
or
yeah, pretty much.
okay.
That's yeah. I mean, of course, I watched a lot of people, but and there were certain camera tricks or certain things that I thought, oh, that's kind of cool. Maybe I'll try that. But it wasn't necessarily. I wanted to role model after a certain person. That wasn't it.
Yeah.
Mm.
Let me ask you this. When was the first time when you started noticing people in Japan making videos like yourself?
After I started uploading, you actually, to be honest with you, the first YouTube video I uploaded was before I had already been to Japan, and I
Hmm.
moved back to the States, and it was when I was still in that transition coming back to Japan. I was really into Japanese study at the time, so I was getting books, and I did a book review on a book that I had bought in Japan, made for Japanese learners in Japan. I did a book review, and there was a guy I followed. God, I forgot Moses something, but I forgot his YouTube Lao Shu something, but he's a polyglot. He speaks so many languages. Polyglot is someone who speaks more than two or three languages, I think.
Oh, I didn't know
And yeah, he's a guy. I don't know if he's lived abroad, but his wife is Chinese, but
that. Okay.
he lives in America, and he is self-taught over 30 languages, I believe. And
Really?
he makes videos where he calls leveling up, where he just goes and speaks to native speakers of a particular language. And these are like 1 to 2 hour long videos. Well, back then, back in 2010, I believe is when I made my first YouTube video. Um, he was doing some reviews, and I guess that particular video was a motivation for me to put one up, and he saw it and he enjoyed it. So I guess I was in like the language study niche at the beginning, but then I kind of branched out once I came back. So branched out from language study to more general stuff about Japan and exploring. I was all about exploring.
Right. I mean, we
Yeah.
talked a little bit off the record again here. Well, we didn't talk that much. We just talked a little bit through text, but we were talking about a podcast that, or I was talking about a podcast that you made where we were talking about the J vlogging community.
Oh yeah.
And what's your opinion on all that?
Well,
I guess as a whole.
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I've mentioned it before, but
Yeah, I couldn't find this podcast for the life
yeah,
of me. I mean, I'll probably find it here right after this, but
I'll be completely 100% honest.
I want you to be honest. So.
Yeah, I don't have a personal problem with any person who makes J vlogs.
Mhm.
That's just not what I want to do,
Oh
and
yeah, I don't
that's
think
not
anybody
something
does.
I want to relate to. Like, if you want to make a video about some strange food you found at a conveni or some Pokemon festival you went to or something like that, by all means, if that's what you're interested in, showcase it. To me, that's cool. If that's what you're into, I'm all for people promoting things that they like to do.
Hmm.
That's just not my scene. And what I found, and I'm glad that I didn't join in on this, is there's a lot of, it's very cliquish in the J vlogging scene. And
Yeah, it's like
and I honestly, I'm like, I'm done with high school bullshit. I'm an adult now. I don't want to be a part of stupid bullshit like that. So no offense to people in the JVlog community, but I just don't want to be a part of it. And just because I make videos and podcasts in Japan doesn't mean I'm a part of that. If that makes me a part of that group, then so be it. But that's not my goal, is to be a part of that group. So I have no allegiance to it. I'm very, I wouldn't say apathetic. I'm just indifferent to it. So
right.
yeah.
Well, that's the interesting thing about, I mean, life on the internet nowadays. We were talking about this at the beginning of the show,
Hmm.
but it just seems like there's a lot more money in being offended nowadays. Like,
Oh yeah. Oh
you
yeah.
know what I'm saying? It's just like there wasn't this before. I mean, I think the only reason why there's more money in it is probably because these companies on the internet, like not just newspapers, but I don't know, gossip channels, whatever. They just need more content, right? And so what gets people's attention is that somebody was offended by one thing, and it gets to this point where like the stuff on Twitter. I mean, which I like Twitter because you always get updates and everything, and I'm slowly getting more into it than using Facebook. I'm kind of growing away from Facebook recently, but like with Twitter, it's just sort of like there's all this soundbite information that you don't really get the full context of what everybody's
Yeah.
talking about.
I understand exactly what you're saying, and I've kind of moved in the same exact direction that you have. I've kind of left Facebook in the dust. To me, Facebook is like third tier for me, but I've really got into Twitter just in the past year, I guess. And um, what I find interesting about Twitter is you can get access to content much easier. Like the timeline, they figured out timeline perfectly, I think. Instagram is still confusing as hell. Facebook is horrible at it. I just think that Twitter has the timeline down great because it's compact and it's just right there. And I found the most value in terms of what I get from social media from Twitter as opposed to Facebook. The only reason I have a Facebook now is just to stay in touch with family.
Oh
But
yeah, yeah, of
you know,
course. Yeah.
I don't really like promoting stuff on Facebook or anything, but I use a lot of alternative social media, even though it's not really popular, it's not mainstream, but I prefer to use alternative social media. Twitter's probably the most mainstream social media that I'll promote my stuff on, but I usually use it just to sort of keep up with what's going on in the world. And sometimes I'll take a break from just news because as an American, I get tired of hearing about Trump bullshit all the time. So I just don't care anymore. I took like a week off, and it was so nice not to hear about Trump for a week, and then I get back into
Not
it. It's
seeing
like,
Orange
oh,
Man on your Twitter feed.
same shit again, and I'm like, okay, I know
Yeah.
why I took a break. So
Well, there's a lot of money in hating Trump, so that's probably
yeah,
why it
yeah,
exists.
and to be honest, you're right. I mean, either there are people out, especially on YouTube too. There are people that are pro-Trump and people who are anti-Trump, and it's like, okay, that's your thing. You get viewers, you got your audience, but yeah, but I will say this: it doesn't matter what side of the fence you're on. I think everyone has a right to speak what they believe,
Mm.
and um, this might be a really unpopular opinion, but the
No,
whole
it's fine.
Alex Jones thing, I think it's a dangerous precedent to set doing that. What the social media sites did to him, because like I don't agree with him. I think he's a lunatic, but if you silence people who you disagree with, that sets a precedent later on where it could come back and bite you in the ass too. You know, so you got to be careful what you do with that. That's just my take on it. Didn't mean
Yeah,
to
no.
derail that conversation, but that's where it led me to. Sorry.
No, no,
Yeah.
no. I mean, it's well, the interesting thing about that though
Yeah.
is it seems like I don't really think that's like the first precedent of like somebody like where a big company like YouTube or Twitter where they just remove someone. I mean maybe it's the first precedent where like a big name gets removed.
Yeah.
Like you remember that Reply Girl stuff? Do you remember that on YouTube?
No. I'm actually not familiar with that. What was that?
Reply Girl is like this girl with like this low cut dress and like her boobs sticking out. Well, not actual sticking out, but like just her cleavage was showing.
Mm,
And she would reply to all these people, right? It was just spam basically.
right.
And YouTube kind of just, they took the axe and they axed that out. I mean, another example is like how you remember that? Do you remember Elsa Gate? That happened
Oh
more
yeah.
recently.
Yeah.
Like that's
All
that's
those
another
weird
big one.
YouTube videos. Yeah. Yes. Yes. That. See, I'm not sure about that because you know I run a kids English school, and we have sometimes we have YouTube songs playing in the background, and I noticed one of those weird videos pop up. I'm like, no, I'm that out off the TV because it's it's so weird because like it starts off pretty innocently, and
Yeah,
then it
yeah, it
just
does.
more bizarre, and it's just and even the kids were just like saying like this is gross, this is weird. And I'm like, yeah, I agree. I'm gonna turn this off. So it's weird. I don't know whether YouTube should ban that or not because
Well, they totally did. I mean, like they
yeah,
want like balls out, like trying to get rid of that stuff.
yeah, which if it's spam and it's made by bots
Hmm.
and such, then yeah, get rid of it because it's not a human being. But
Well, some of that's automation, you
yeah,
know.
but if there's no actual crime committed, then you can't really say. But then again, people say, well, yeah, these social media sites are private companies,
Hmm.
so they have a right to do what they want. And I agree with that. You're right; they do have a right. But um, I'm a man of principles, I guess, and I just think free speech is one of the most fundamental principles that all human beings have, and even if I completely 100% disagree with something that someone says, I'll 100% support them in their right to express that opinion. That's just where I stand on it. But it gets
Right.
to a weird area when you get these like videos that target children. That starts that starts upsetting me a bit, and I'm like, okay, well, has there been any crime committed against the kids? No. Well, as much as I don't like it, you know, you gotta,
Right. I mean,
you,
Fight Club, right?
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
Like to me, like some of that Elsa Gate stuff, it seemed like you at first you're thinking, oh, this is like Tyler Durden bullshit,
Hmm.
like kind of slipping in, X-rated movies into kids programs or something, right? But
That's been
then,
going on forever, though. Ren and
yeah,
Stimpy, you know, like Rocco's
yeah.
Modern Life.
I'm not saying that that's what this is. I'm saying
Yeah.
what's creepy about this is that it's automated, and it's just
Ah,
like I don't know. It kind of like makes my head spin when I think about it, because it's like basically these videos were created only because of SEOs, search engine optimization, like certain keywords that they knew kids were clicking on. So instantly these SEO tags, somehow these people, they bought into like Google AdWords, and they figured out that these certain tags were popular with kids videos, and so they started mixing them all in together.
yeah.
Which is
It's really
bizarre.
bizarre. You're right. It's real bizarre. And part of me finds it upsetting, but another part of me is really fascinated with where AI is going in that respect. And I'm thinking it's as weird as it is, that's kind of fascinating that AI has evolved to do something like that, you know? And it's almost a little bit creepy of where that sort of AI can go in the future, you know?
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I'm not sure where it's going to be in like the next 10 years, but it would be interesting.
Yeah, man, just looking back, you know, I think 10 years ago is not that long ago, but in terms of the internet, you got to look like Facebook was just starting to boom 10 years ago. Twitter
Mm,
was very in its infancy.
yeah.
You know, like no
Remember when like
hardly anyone knew about Twitter. When did
yeah,
Instagram come out? I don't even remember when that came out, but um
it's back when they had those shitty filters for all of them.
yeah, yeah. And and you know, and was it 10 years ago when iPhones started coming out? So just in 10 years, things have radically changed so
Yeah.
much, and it's hard to imagine how, at the pace that it's going, what 10 years from now, what everything's going to be like, you know? So it's both interesting, fascinating, but also a little scary if you're not sure where it's headed, you know?
Well, I mean, one of the interesting things is uh, like with Twitter, like when Twitter and YouTube were created, I have this impression because I don't know, I guess call this conspiracy, but basically when these things were made, the creators had no idea what it is and they wanted to make with it. Because I get this impression, like I remember reading something from the CEO of Twitter, and him like trying to tweet to like understand, like, so is this how I use this? I bought some milk, hashtag delicious. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's how a lot of things are, man, at the very
Yeah,
beginning, you know,
yeah,
and starting a business, you in the first couple of years it's pivotal. You don't really know where you're going with it. It's
yeah,
imagine
that's
like
true.
you're steering a ship in uncharted waters and you're
Hmm.
not sure if taking this direction or that direction is the right way to go, but you
Hmm.
just got to trust what information you have and your instincts pretty much. And sometimes it's not the right direction and sometimes it is. And that's how I liken early on in a business is like steering a ship into unknown waters. Is you just don't know where it's going to go or what's going to happen, how it's going to take off, you know?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, whereas like something like Facebook, I have this idea that Mark Zuckerberg probably definitely had an idea where he was going, or at least that's my impression. I don't know.
He
That's
seems
what I get.
robotic enough to be programmed to understand that. So
He likes to socially engineer people, so of course he.
yeah,
Right? I'm
he
not sure if he actually said that. I only heard that through the grapevine. I
yeah,
think he
I
said
know. I
that.
know he called people who use Facebook dumb fucks. That's
What? I did not hear that.
dude. He did. This was like way back in. I was years ago, but he
Shit.
basically said that I forgot the entire conversation, but he basically said, "Yeah, they're dumb fucks." So yeah. Sorry, I just to ask, how is your channel about language? I'm not
Oh, it's
sure
fine. No, no,
your
that's fine.
post.
I mean, it's rated E for explicit.
Oh, okay,
Not
all
for
right.
every.
Yeah, mine's an open book, so you're free to say
Yeah,
what you
no, no,
want, but
no.
um, I just wasn't sure about yours. But
No, no. I mean, I don't like censorship. I'm not a fan of censorship either.
okay,
Actually, I
okay,
kind of wanted to talk about the Alex Jones thing, but you're going to talk about it anyway.
yep,
Yeah, no. What I kind of my take about that is a lot of what happened behind. I think what the problem is we don't really know exactly what happened because most of these companies they didn't really tell us why they were doing it. You know why they were dropping Alex Jones.
Hmm.
I mean, I don't know if you watch Philip DeFranco, but I watch him every day now. He made a really good point. He was saying that Twitter they have like guidelines and rules and regulations, but they don't like point at a video or like an example of saying, see, don't do this, you know? So it's very confusing when they do something like this. And I think maybe that probably Twitter and Facebook, when they dropped Alex Jones, they were probably thinking, like, well, we know this is going to be polarized, but we're going to do it anyway. You know, it'll make the news, but that's okay. I think it was very carefully orchestrated, personally.
Well, I'll give Twitter credit in some senses. They were the last to drop him because, Jack Dorsey, the CEO, he said, Alex Jones hasn't actually violated any of our terms of service. If he were to do so, then we would take action. Well, apparently,
Is that what he said?
yeah,
Okay.
that's what he said when all these other sites dropped him. Apparently he did, and what got him kicked off was I don't know if it was where he confronted Mark Rubio, or not.
Yeah, I saw that.
It was that day is what he said that day. But I thought, what a strange thing. What did he actually violate? What terms did he actually violate? And they said that he violated Twitter's terms of service for bullying or something like that. And I thought, that could be interpreted many different ways. I think they were just looking for an excuse, to be honest with you. But to me, all that does is, like, Alex Jones is like a dumpster fire, and banning him from all these things is just going to put more gasoline on top of it. You know,
Maybe.
He's not going to go away. He's only going to become louder. And
you think he'll find another place to show his show?
I mean, what was it? His not his YouTube, whatever service that he offers on his website, his subscriptions shot up like by 1 million subscribers after he was banned. That's a lot. That's, I mean,
1 million.
That's quite a lot. I wish I had that many subscribers. Money. You know what I mean? But
you gotta have a show where you just spout nonsense all day
about intergalactic child molesters and
turning the frogs gay and
yeah. I mean, to be honest, I honestly think all that kind of nonsense is a show. He does. It's a character that he plays. I'm sure he believes a lot of the stuff that he says, but a lot of it is theatrics, to be honest with you. But he has a loyal following, and just like Trump, the more you criticize it and the more you try and shut it up, the stronger his followers will become. And so you're just enabling them to become more vocal, I think. So it's very counterintuitive, very counterproductive what they're doing with this. And it's like also the Streisand effect. Have you heard about that?
Yeah, it's for like she released her nudes and she didn't want anybody to know about her, or she didn't like people that are releasing her nudes, and so she went to court, but then like they backfired because
it's the same concept, but
because everybody
I sure as hell hope Barbara Streisand didn't release any nude photos, but I think
there's some guy who was like trying to he was threatening to release them, and then Barbara Streisand said, "Well, I'm gonna sue them, that way they don't do it." But because she threatened to sue, that made the news, and so now everybody knows about that she has nude pictures.
Well, whether it was nude pictures or not, the concept is the same.
I like having context. That's all.
Yeah, like I said, I sure as hell hope there aren't any nude photos floating around of Barbara Streisand, but
I don't care. Really.
I'm not going to look them up. But if that's what she wants to do, more power to her. But
anyway, it's the
same concept, Like the more you try and shut something up, the more the louder it's going to become, and that's the thing. Don't try and, especially with the internet now, don't try and shut up people you disagree with, or because they're just going to become louder and they're just going to dig in even more, I think. And you don't want that. You don't want the people who follow Alex Jones to become physically active. You know what I mean?
Right.
You don't want them to lash out at people. Now
Yeah.
he's gone on record saying to peacefully protest people. That's his words. So he's not himself inciting violence, but who knows what some of the crazier people who are part of his audience will do. You know?
Possibly. I don't know. I'm pretty sure. I mean, don't you think that a lot of like what went behind closed doors? I mean, the decision to get rid of him was probably a lot due to money. I'm more
Maybe.
interested in that, but I don't know.
Yeah, well, then there's a lot of people who say he's a gatekeeper and he's sort of in bed with all of them anyway. So, but we could go down so many conspiracy rabbit holes if we wanted to, but
Yeah,
don't really.
sure. Yeah, I don't want this to be about the podcast about Alex Jones, so maybe I'll move on here. I mean, I don't know. I was only talking about J vlogging, and the thing about J vlogging, it seems like nowadays that everybody has to sort of follow some trend or follow the news or follow whatever's big out there. What's the big, like, kind of I hate saying this, but like the trickle down, you have to catch up from like what the big people are dropping down, and like hopefully you catch some views.
What it reminds me of is when there was a lot of drama in that community, and people would make videos about that, commenting about it. It's like you're just like a leech sucking onto onto something that's a topic that shouldn't even really be talked about because it should be personal business between people, but they've made it public on YouTube, and you're just trying to siphon views off of it. Now, I'll admit, years ago, I made a few videos that would try and capitalize off of news that have happened, or I made a response video. Like, honestly, response videos, I have no problem with. If you have an opposing view to somebody, you should express it. Definitely. But to only make the video just to capitalize off of another popular video, I think is a little bit I don't really agree with that strategy,
Yeah, no, I mean, it just, I guess recently, like with this show, I've been trying to like push it and get more of a following, and like release something every week and so on.
That's good, man.
Yeah, but I'm starting to find out that like a lot of my friends and like people who do this YouTube thing, they all have to like kind of attach themselves to the bigger people in order to just get noticed. Like I have one friend who's an artist here in Japan, like he does like comic books, right? Does a kind of manga stuff.
Yeah.
And at this like kind of he was a foreigner. And there's this manga, I guess, convention or something here in Tokyo for all foreigners. And the one manga that got the most attention, that had the most people around the table, was the manga for Bart Kira. The mixture of Bart Simpson and Akira, the manga.
Actually, I kind of enjoyed those a little bit, but yeah, that's just
yeah. But I'm just saying, it's like it's name brand recognition.
Yeah.
It's like I hate it, but at the same time, I do think it's awesome.
Yeah. Well, because I like The Simpsons and I like Akira, so it's like that's a good mashup, but it's not original,
Yeah, and I mean, like, I'm sitting here with like my friend. I could just reveal him. He's a friend of the show, Chris Carlier. He does the comic book called Little in Japan.
Okay. I like the name though. That's good.
Yeah, he was the second guest on this show. It's actually one of the most watched episodes, only because it has a thumbnail of Hitomi Tanaka, if you know who that is.
Yeah.
Anyway, because he met her and he got a picture taken with her. But anyway, long story short, here we have somebody like who's doing something original, but nobody's paying attention to it. I mean, like maybe there's a few like walk by, like, hey, that's kind of cool, and then they like the title, and then that's about it.
Yeah, actually, though, I have to admit, a guilty pleasure of mine is seeing YouTube dumpster fires, or YouTube like people who like ruin their lives on YouTube, and they
oh boy
catalog it. Like, there's a couple of examples I can give. One of them is in Japan. It's this dude called like Hiding in My Room or something.
Oh, that guy. Yeah, I watched him. Yeah,
he's unintentionally hilarious. I just love seeing how much he fucks up. And
Okay.
yeah, um, another one, kind like I met this guy years ago before his YouTube channel took off, and if he kept doing what he was actually doing, he that's fine and cool. But he took a weird turn, and that's
It's not Happy in Japan, is it?
no, it was Nobita.
Yeah, that's Happy in
Oh,
Japan.
is that Happy in
That's
Japan?
Happy in
Okay.
Japan. The guy who did the
I
Dear
thought he
Black
was like
People.
Find Your Love in Japan. Did he
Yeah, that's.
change
Oh
it?
no, I'm sorry. Was it Find
Yeah.
Your Love in Japan? That's
Yeah,
what.
yeah, yeah. Find Your
Not
Love in
Happy in
Japan.
Japan. I think
When
those
I
are
met him, he was
mistakes.
really just interested in talking to foreigners about he was just really he seemed genuine about interested in talking to foreigners why they came here and like trying to introduce people to if they wanted to find a girlfriend or boyfriend or something like that sort of thing. And I'm like, okay, cool, that's your to me he just seemed like he was trying to copy Yuta.
Oh, that
um
guy Japanese YouTube did
yeah,
Man
that
on the
that
Street
Japanese guy
interviews.
Yuta, he seemed like he was trying to copy that style, but he did kind of make it his own in a way, so that's cool. But then he started like going off the rails. I'm like, oh shit, this guy's gone full blown like racist or something, So
Like what with Dear Black People and everything.
yeah, yeah, like
Makes the
gays, and
news.
he hates gays and black. I don't know if he actually hates gays and blacks, but he seemed to make videos that painted himself in a very negative light in that regard. And I just thought, if you want views, you're gonna get them. So
Yeah, I was wondering why he went that way too. That was really weird.
yeah. And the best one though, he wasn't even involved with Japan at all, but he was in Cambodia. There was this dude named No Joke Howard that
Okay.
moved to Cambodia to become a MMA fighter, to like fight Muay Thai. And he trained for that, and he was actually on Cambodian TV, and he fought a few fights and he lost. And he broke his hand in a fight, and then he couldn't afford to get his hand fixed. So
Hmm.
instead, he got involved with like this crowd of people who like he got addicted to drugs, and then he like tried to commit suicide. And he dated a transgender person in Cambodia and cataloged
Okay.
all that. And like it was just watching this guy fuck up his life and go down the road he did. It was just, I don't know, I find for some reason I find entertainment in these people. Not the fact that it's bad things happening to them, but the fact that they feel like they can just put it out there. They're putting it out on YouTube for a reason,
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe
and
it's like a
it's yeah,
tragedy or something.
yeah, yeah. And I don't know, like it's kind of like, I know it's not good, but it's sort of like if you like reality TV, it's kind of trash TV, but you still kind of enjoy it deep down as a guilty pleasure in a way. So
Yeah,
I
that
don't
is
know.
true. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a very amateur quality to
yeah,
YouTube where you see depictions of somebody's life being displayed,
yeah,
sometimes in real time, uh, and how they kind of change. And what's also kind of weird about YouTube is like how people change to like fit certain platforms. Like for example, you're probably a lot different than how it is you're on Instagram. Like you probably take different kind of pictures,
yeah,
or like what you write on Facebook might be different from what you write on Twitter.
yeah. Yeah, you're right. I mean, I'm more vocally outspoken on Twitter because it's mostly word, but Instagram, I keep it strictly to photos that I like taking in Japan. You know, I don't,
Hmm.
I really don't do anything else for my Instagram. Because for me, that was the purpose of Instagram, is to take pictures, not to put memes up or anything. So people do that, and that's fine, but that's
Hmm.
just not what I use it for.
Right. I mean, so you live in like the more natural rural Japan. Can't speak. Rural Japan, like a part like few people really see.
Yeah,
Um,
it's the city I live in, like I said, it's about 500,000 people, so it's not a small city. I guess for
mhm,
Japan it's a medium-sized city, but the prefecture I live in is quite rural. You're right. So
mhm.
there's a lot of countryside here. And actually one of the Japan's most famous World Heritage sites is just 25 kilometers from where I live, Nikko. Super awesome place if you've never been. So
Yeah. Wait. No, I don't think I've been to Nikko. I went to Hakone, not
I cou-
Nikko.
Yeah,
Hakone's
but
in the opposite direction.
yeah, you have to visit Nikko at least once. It's if you like history, if you like Japanese history, it's great, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful place. So,
All right. Yeah,
mm.
I'll give it a try.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
So I guess the rest of my question here is like, are there any plans to show us more of rural Japan, like on your YouTube channel, like in the upcoming
yeah,
months? Or
yeah. I mean, I had, as I've said before, I had videos up showing that, but I cleansed that for I had
they
my
had
own.
like they had like 100K views and everything, right?
Those video, the ones that actually showed rural Japan did not. It
Oh,
were the
okay.
videos that I had quite a lot of views on were one was a tutorial video on how to use a certain computer program
Oh, that's right. You're
about
telling me
studying,
that.
and
Hmm.
one was a response video where it was just me talking into the camera. So that didn't really show anything. The one I found the ones that where I was exploring out into the countryside and showing what I believe to be such beautiful nature didn't really get a lot of views. People didn't really care. And so what I'm kind of doing now is one of my buddies, he used to have a YouTube channel too, Kevin Crocker. He
Oh, okay, I think I know that guy.
yeah, he used to have a series called Kevin Crocker in Japan where that was hilarious. He would go to all these different rural spots like you know, rivers, go swimming in rivers, go to certain shrines out in the countryside, um, open onsens that you can just free onsens that you can just go into, you know, like but he would film in a way where it was like a document, like travel documentary, but he had the most vulgar and like fucked up sort of commentary to it, and it was juxtaposed with beautiful scenery in Japan mixed with awesome, funny, hilarious, vulgar commentary, and it was just it made for a very awesome combo. And his YouTube was awesome, and he showcased a lot of rural Japan. And thing is, you know, for some reason, people don't really seem to care. Those type of videos don't get clicks. People want to know about Tokyo and anime and manga and things like that. Which okay, but there's 95% of the people who YouTube out of Japan do that sort of thing. So you're not going to get anything new out of that. If you really want to see real Japan, not to say Tokyo is not real Japan, it's just a certain aspect of Japan. But if you want to see the rest of Japan, you got to look at other people on YouTube, smaller YouTubers. I'll give some shout outs now. Kurt, well, he's not really small, but Kurt Bell is probably the biggest one that showed rural Japan.
Hmm.
Um, there's a guy called Dances with Cranes. His YouTube, he doesn't really have a lot of subscribers, but that guy lives in rural Japan. And if you want to really see like festivals and things like that, check out his channel. Um, my buddy Graham Smith in Niigata, Voluntary Japan, he does a lot of walk and talk videos as well. His topics aren't about Japan necessarily, but he shows the countryside where he lives. He lives in the countryside of Niigata prefecture. So, you know, smaller channels like that is where you're going to find real Japan, I think, you know, outside of Tokyo.
Right, right,
Yeah.
right. Okay.
But long story short, sorry to go too long there. I will
No,
be
no, no.
putting up more videos related to um, areas outside of Tokyo. So
Okay.
yeah.
Yeah, no, looking forward to it. I mean, I do. You had that one podcast about hiking in Japan where you talked about certain mountains you went on. I think that'd be very beneficial for somebody who's coming to Japan, like, what do I hike? I only got one day. What do I do?
Oh yeah,
So,
I actually I was going to start a series of documenting my accumulation of how many mountains I was climbing because there's a Hyakumeizan, which means 100 famous mountains in Japan, and
hmm.
my goal was to try and climb every single one of them. That's 100 mountains. I didn't know how far I would get. I've climbed about 5 or 6 of them so far. So
Yeah.
I still have a long way to go, but it's I did document a few of those climbs on video.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. So, what is it that you feel is a topic that often defines your channel on YouTube?
Hmm.
Nature,
I would say
podcast.
anything and everything. Like I don't really define my channel too much, but I would say the main theme that comes up a lot is helping people get to Japan in the sense of showing others who have come to Japan and have succeeded in Japan and have stuck it out and not left after a year or two and just sort of made their own way here. That's that's what I hope to do, is inspire people to, if they want to come here, look at these guys. They've done it, and I try and show such a very an eclectic array of different people that have
Right.
come here and succeeded, just to say, you know, they've all done the same thing. They're all very different people, but they've all done what you're thinking about. So what are you waiting for? Come and do it yourself. Make your own journey here, you know?
Yeah. Right. Right. I mean, yeah, that's a good message. I mean, I guess I've always like considered uh, my position on YouTube. I've actually given it a lot of thought
Hmm.
recently, last couple of days. I mean, I'm mostly going to focus on film and filmmaking because I mean that's part of what I like about doing YouTube, and I'll probably make a vlog about this at some point. But part of what I like about it is it gives me this opportunity to share things with people that
Hmm.
like I mean it's hard to even think about this, but there was a time when you couldn't share something with someone. You know, it's like, "Oh, I watched this guy's stand up. He's so funny." Or I saw, I don't know, who's a famous comedian? Bill Burr. I
Hmm.
saw Bill Burr. He was so funny, and like nowadays you can just type in Bill Burr on Google and you can like watch his whole stand up or Netflix or whatever, right?
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
mean, today it's so I mean, well back then it was so cool to me that you could actually like put something on. I mean, nowadays it's even better, but you could put so much stuff on the internet, you could actually share it with someone.
Yeah,
Uh
and that kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier, is, you know, the internet is such an awesome thing if used how you want it to, you know, because the one thing I learned previously with my YouTube channel before was there's there's an audience for everything.
mhm.
I didn't think at the time, I didn't think what I was putting out was, you know, I liked it, and I hoped other people liked it, but then I started getting more and more subscribers and more views, and I thought, hey, I'm just being me, and people like that. So there is an audience for everything out there. So the best advice I give to people who want to put something out on the internet, whether YouTube or podcast or anything, is just be authentic and be yourself, because you will find an audience if you just keep at it. You got to just keep doing it, you know?
Indeed.
Yeah.
All right, one thing I gotta ask you.
Yeah.
So, I mean, our audio listeners probably can't see this, but you
Yeah.
have a huge Led Zeppelin poster behind you.
I
Are you a
do. I
Led
do.
Zeppelin
You're
fan?
the second guest who has mentioned that poster. Thank you.
It's very apparent, so I make it very see it. I mean, it's very red and very black and very
And that's
communist looking.
intentional, because Led Zeppelin has been such a great influence in my life. So I've I've gone on many journeys with Led Zeppelin. To me, music just it takes me to a different place, you know. And Led Zeppelin
Mhm.
has a way of taking me to different places,
I
if that
see a
makes sense.
guitar back there. Do you play too?
I have. I haven't picked it up recently,
Hmm.
um, but I dabbled. I guess that's the closest I could get to it, is dabble. But it's there for whenever I need to get back into it, and
Yeah.
I will. It's just when I'm ready for it. He's there. So, do
Dabble,
you?
not dab.
Yeah. Do you play any instruments at all?
I don't.
Yeah.
I played the piano for like I was trying to teach myself for a while, and I'm like, nah, I got better things to do. Not kind of wish maybe I should go back to doing that. Oh, it's kind of fun. I mean, it's
Yeah.
like
I
learning a
mean,
language.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like learning a language, it opens up so much. It just opens up so much, you know. And for me, music, listening to music is such a wonderful thing. If I can not even create my own music, but just sing songs that I like through me, I mean, that just to me that sounds just very comforting, you know.
Hmm.
Yeah, so I wouldn't even, to me, playing music wouldn't even be to try and be successful or make money or anything. It would just be for my own personal entertainment, so to speak. So
Nice.
yeah, yeah. So
All right. Well, I'm out
yeah,
of questions. Uh, anything you want to
well,
ask me before we
yeah, yeah, man.
call it a podcast?
Well, we've been going at this for a little while, but you've you've been here quite a long time. I'd like to ask, what has been
Yeah,
your
sure.
biggest challenge with living in Japan?
The language.
Yeah.
Probably just the language. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. Sometimes making friends, learning how to do Japan. I mean,
Mm,
learning how to live in Japan is the biggest thing. I read this book one time about uh, living in China once.
yeah.
They say, imagine if, like, let's like talk about baseball, right? Like, imagine if, like, you can learn how to play baseball just by watching people play baseball. You don't need to learn like words, quote unquote. Maybe you need to understand like what's going on. You can hear certain sound cues, but eventually you figure out how to play baseball just from watching it and figuring
Right.
out sound cues and everything. And that's kind of like what living in a foreign country is like. Sometimes you just get used to these cues and like hearing certain words and phrases, and you understand the culture being like, if I use the metaphor of like baseball again, uh, you're just getting used to like what to do. Like you know what to do when somebody throws a ball and then someone hits it, right? Whereas like I can't be playing football if if I'm playing if like everybody else is playing baseball, you know.
Right. Right. Yeah,
It's like going
you gotta kind of read the social cues and to see how to fit in. It's like what's the saying? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. You know, especially in a culture like Japan where they really value conforming to the social norm, to the status quo. That's very important in this country. So anything that sticks out of that is, I mean, we already stick out as it is, not being Japanese, but
Mhm.
I've found the closer to being a Japanese person without being Japanese, they tend to accept most things. And actually, that's kind of the coolest position you can be in is have an understanding of the culture and the language, but still be non-Japanese because you understand what's going on, but you're not 100% expected to conform to Japanese societal norms. And
Mhm.
that's you kind of find a really cool place to be in that sense because there's a
Yeah, that's
lot of
true.
things Japanese people have to deal with in their own country that I find to be really stifling and not very good. But I don't have to conform to that because I'm not Japanese and I'm not expected to, you know. So it's a little bit freeing in that sense.
Yeah, I mean, you're given certain freedoms that like you wouldn't have in the United States, you know?
Yeah.
Which
And
off, yeah,
I was gonna say, and of course, you could just gaijin smash through things. I
yeah,
wouldn't. I wouldn't recommend that. Not if you're new here. I would say the longer you're here, you can skillfully gaijin smash where you know where to gaijin smash. And if you don't know what gaijin smash is, just figure it out on your own because I don't want to explain it. But if you can skillfully gaijin smash,
Google it.
then you're in a good spot. You know. So
I guess so. I don't know. I mean, that's it's kind of taking advantage of your foreignness, but I guess you do you, and then I think the problem is if you keep on doing Gaijin Smash, eventually you're gonna get caught, or you're gonna
well,
lose out on something.
that's why I said skillfully do it. I wouldn't
Oh, I see.
recommend it to people who are unfamiliar with this
Skillfully,
country. If you're
skillfully,
here for
aka.
quite a long time, you know what you can and can't, culturally get away with. So that's why I say skillfully. It's not something that I would recommend. I mean, if you just go around just gaijin smashing everything, you're just going to be an asshole, you know. So don't do that. But there's certain areas where you can kind of use your foreignness to your advantage, and it won't ruffle too many feathers. So you'll be cool with that. I did want to say though,
Yeah.
I've been admiring your Mr. Meeseeks t-shirt. So
Oh yeah,
yes,
Rick and Morty.
yes,
If you're into that.
yeah. I'm really really excited to see that come back for a fourth season. So
Yeah, no, I'd like to see Mr. Meeseeks again on Rick and Morty. It's a great show.
yeah.
It's even funnier in Japanese if you ever watched it.
Oh man, I've never watched the Japanese audio for it, but that sounds like something I need to do.
What is it? I mean, like Netflix has it. I have
Yeah,
an audio track.
I never
Yeah, it's
think
actually
to put shows like that in the audio format. I usually have it on the subtitles, like for my girlfriend to read, you know.
mm,
But I usually don't like dubs of things. But if Rick and Morty can be funny in Japanese audio, then I might give it a try.
it kind of reminds me of like I don't know if you ever watched The Simpsons in Japanese.
Yes, I have. I actually, that's one of the few Japanese dubs that was done actually quite well, I
Yeah,
think. Yeah. Simpsons is hilarious in Japanese.
yeah. Not. I mean, I don't know. Well, did you
I
ever
would
watch anime when you were in the States?
not, yes and no. My
Like, which
first,
ones did you watch?
I'll say this. When I very, very first started getting into Japanese culture is way, way back when, well, I guess I watched what was it? Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. That was my first sort of foray into Japanese culture was ninjas and stuff like that, right? But then,
Yeah,
do you remember the super super early days of Cartoon Network when they would just show like
Toonami.
Flintstones and Scooby Doo and like really
Oh,
old
before
school
Toonami.
cartoons?
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
Way before Toonami. But it was back in 1993. I'm showing my age here. 1993. I was 8, I think. They showed three. They didn't even call it anime. They called it Japanese animation then, and
Okay.
they had three movies that they played on Cartoon Network really late at night because they were mature movies. They were Vampire Hunter D, the original. Um, God, what were the other two?
I remember this actually.
Yeah, Vampire Hunter D. I think Akira was one, and then they had a third one. But I remember staying up late one night to like 3 in the morning and watching Vampire Hunter D, and I just found it fascinating. I was like, that looks nothing like animation that's in the US. And the mature aspect of it, and I was just like, wow, I was blown away by that. But I never really got into anime.
Hmm.
It just not my thing, you know. I will say that when I moved to Japan, the first I read I read one manga series because at the time I was studying kanji and hiragana, and it was easy to read, and it was very casual Japanese, and that was the original Dragon Ball manga, like not Dragon Ball Z, but Dragon Ball. And I read through that twice, and I still have them actually. I haven't sold them back yet, but after that, I never read any other manga or. Um, I tried getting into like some Sengoku, like some historical Japanese manga, but I just couldn't get into it. So
It takes a lot of patience.
yeah, yeah, and like I said, there's nothing wrong with it if you like it. It's just for me, that's just not my thing. I couldn't get into it. So, but it did. Reading Dragon Ball manga in Japanese did help my Japanese. So that was the extent of my anime and manga.
Yeah, you learn a lot of onomatopoeia from manga.
Hmm.
That's definitely helpful. I mean, I read Blackjack. I just did that to practice Japanese, but
Hmm. Yeah. So
yeah.
if you, for me, it was a tool to learn Japanese. I was entertained by it, so whatever. I'll fully admit I enjoyed it. But I don't watch the anime or anything. It's just I can't. It doesn't keep my interest, I guess. I like I don't know. I mean, my interest. I like more slow burn type stuff. Like a Breaking Bad or a good. I like a good drama. Like or serious drama. Anime
What is
just moves too fast paced for me, and there's a lot of filler, so I don't really dig it. So
Breaking Bad's pretty fast paced, though. I wouldn't say
it
that's a
started
slow
off slow,
burn.
though. It started off quite
You think
slow.
so?
Yeah, in the beginning
Okay.
it did. It started picking up, but Better Call Saul, that's a good slow burn.
Yeah, I watched that show.
Yeah. Anyway, we're getting a little bit off track.
Yeah.
Did you do you want to talk about anything else?
No, I think that's about it. I mean,
Cool.
unless there's something you want to pick my brain about. I mean,
Yeah. You're quite okay. I asked what your biggest challenge was. What
yeah.
motivated you to start your YouTube channel and podcast? Since you asked me the
Uh,
same thing.
yeah, no, I mean, the first thing was the reason why I started it was number one, my goal was to send something to my friends and family.
Hmm.
Basically, just saying, hey, I'm alive and this is Japan. Check it out. And it
Did
was
you
around
start it
that
after
time.
the earthquake, the Tohoku earthquake?
Oh, no, no, yeah, I started in 2009, actually.
Oh,
When I
okay. So before that,
first,
then. Yeah.
yeah, in January, actually,
Yeah.
when I first got here. And there was a friend of mine who I was going to school with. Actually, I probably should start way before this. When I first started making, I don't know, when I was first coming to Japan, I found out about this school named Temple University,
Hmm.
Japan, TUJ as it's called. And if you type on the internet, there was a few people who were actually making vlogs. There was one guy named Atomic Boy X. He also goes by FYI Tokyo now. And then there was another guy named International Ace. And they both made video blogs about how they're going to Temple University, Japan, and I kind of followed them for a little bit. And it was, I can't tell you how exciting it was, seeing these people in the flesh, like in real life. It was like meeting a celebrity.
Right.
um, and while meeting these celebrities at the school, one of them was Greg, Atomic Boy X, now FYI Tokyo. Uh, he introduced me, says, hey, I'm going out to meet a bunch of YouTubers. I'm going to meet My Argonauts, Cruxe, and Hiko Simon. I had no idea who these people were, right? Everybody knows Hiko Simon. If you don't know Hiko Simon, then you're invited to leave. But
Yeah.
anyway,
No, Simon's
so
Ego Simon's a cool dude. Yeah.
yeah, and so I met up with these people, and I was introduced to this whole world of like all these people, all these vloggers,
Yeah.
like Eco Simon, Gimme Breakman, TQ Sam, all these people,
Hmm.
and it opened the doors, like just me being able to meet all these new people, and the goal for me at that point kind of became like, wow, I could make enough videos and I can meet enough people, and I won't ever feel like lonely, quote
Mm.
unquote, in Japan, because that's like a big thing everybody always talks about being living in Japan as foreigners, is that the loneliness is real,
Right.
right? So after a certain point, I kind of plateaued. It was like around 2011. I plateaued a bit because I met everybody, and YouTube was kind of at a weird state at 2011. They didn't really know what they wanted to be at that point, and then they opened up YouTube Space and Roppongi, and yeah, nothing happened for like a good couple of years, and then what's his name? Abroad in Japan came out, and I never really liked his videos because I always thought they were too polished or too well put together, and they got all these views.
Mm.
I mean, I understand why he got the views, but it's to me, it's like I don't want to watch this. It's too mainstream.
Right. Right.
So, and then more mainstream people started popping up again, like people like Charla in Japan and Rachel in June and Tex in Tokyo and all. Maybe you're familiar with these names. I don't know. And eventually they came out, and then I had more of an inspiration to start making content again when I started listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
When it just like it became something simple, like, oh, I watched Mad Men tonight, but I have nobody to talk to about it, and nobody's going to talk about it. So I would just like go into like iTunes or YouTube, and I type in like Mad Men or something episode recap, and there'd be some people on the internet just talking about it. So that kind of rekindled my interest in YouTube and podcast, or I guess podcast is a new thing. No, everybody's making a
Yeah.
podcast nowadays.
Yeah, yeah. I think, to be honest, podcasts for me, have been super inspirational too. My dad was in radio for years, and I was always too young to really get into it when he was in radio, but my brother was in high school and he was put on the night shift at the local radio station where my dad managed, and um, I was like, wow, that's kind of cool. He was the night DJ, you know, and then but I never really gave it thought, but I know I enjoyed listening to podcasts because my old job, especially before I got a car, was biking. I would ride my bicycle 8 kilometers one way to work and back, and I had a lot of time to kill. So I would alternate between studying Japanese and listening to podcasts, and I just really got into podcasts. So I've accumulated, 30, 40 different podcasts that I cycle through, and nowadays back then, 2012, 2013, I would just listen to everything and anything I could get my hands on. Now I'm really selective. I'm still subscribed to a lot of them, but I probably listen to just one or two a week that I really find interest in, I guess. So
Right. Yep. Well, that's where we are today.
Mhm. And I'm hoping, like you said, like the two things that are too polished and too mainstream just have no soul, I think. You know, they're just they're good. It's like really well made, but they're just no soul to it for me. That's the word I like to use.
Is that what I don't like about it? It has no soul.
Maybe if it had it a little bit more more that smooth soul in there, but I don't know. But that's for me. That's for me. I like really authentic, sort of just people talking, raw, unedited sort of chats. You know what I mean? So,
yeah, no, it feels therapeutic in a way, or at least for me it does. Like
Yeah.
sometimes I listen to the H3 podcast just to relax because I feel like I'm talking with my friends.
they're hilarious, man. And they've had guests on there that I thought that's such a weird guest for that show, but it works. You know?
Yeah,
So,
right.
yeah.
It really is. Shit, what was I gonna say? Forgot what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Oh, now I remember what I was gonna say. Did you ever see a movie called Amazon Women on the Moon or From the Moon?
I've heard of it. I have not watched it yet, but it sounds like
They have this one segment of called Black People Born with No Soul, right? I don't know. I had this part where they have David Allen Greer, a black guy, and he's like singing all these white people songs. It just makes me think of that when you say YouTubers with no soul.
Yeah, right. Well, I mean, I hope you understand what I mean by that.
No, I do 100% understand. It's just like it conjures up an idea in my mind of like people just making videos for the sake of just making videos.
Well, yeah, because that's what YouTube used to be when it started, was just people engaging in this sort of thing, right? And then it like YouTube really took off, and companies started putting out their own YouTube channels, and now it's just become really like a mainstream outlet. But podcasting, I still think as much mainstream podcasts that are out there, I still think it's sort of a little bit of the Wild West in terms of entertainment for the internet, you know, because
yeah,
there really isn't like a precedent set for podcasts. It's still anything goes in terms of how the format is for podcast, and I think that's really cool. The creative outlet is probably the best out there for content creation, I think, or is podcast form.
Yeah. No, I mean, it definitely helps you build connections and everything. I mean, by listening.
Right. Well, Radrey, it was great talking to you. Thank you for having me on your show, and thanks for coming on mine.
Yeah, definitely. It was fun. I mean, it's good to always. I like being interviewed or talking to interviewers because they know how to ask questions and they know what questions to ask.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, I'm just going. I'm figuring all this out on my own as well. So that's part of the fun for me is learning as I go. And I also wanted to know, is that a Nico Doga pillow behind you?
It is a Nico Nico Doga. I won this thing a long time ago, actually, in a not a vending machine, one of those UFO catchers.
Yeah,
like 2010, maybe
yeah,
2009. Yeah, that is Nico
yeah.
Nico Doga, which nobody really uses in Japan anymore.
Not anymore, but that's how I got my first exposure to Simpsons Japanese dubs, was Nico Nico Doga.
Oh,
But
really?
yeah, I really like their comment section for learning internet Japanese slang, Japanese internet
Yeah,
slang. Yeah,
that's definitely a good place to learn
yeah,
that and like Nichanaru, but
yeah. Oh yeah,
that's a whole other beast. But
that's a whole other topic. So usually I finish off my shows. I always ask the people I talk to just one thing they would like to leave off for the audience, one thing they'd like to say, and what would you like to give to my audience? And
what would I
you can
like to
take
give
it
to
from
your
there.
audience?
Yeah.
Uh, Thank you for listening. If you made it this far, uh, be sure to like all of Shea Roberts' Lone Star Under the Rising Sun podcast goods. Buy his books or his book.
Cheap plug, cheap plug.
Cheap plug. Write something in the comments saying about how he's the most smart and attractive man in the world. I don't know. No, I guess it would just be, in all seriousness, what I would say is just plug my stuff, I guess. All right, you've been listening to a live recording on YouTube. This is we were trying to set up to get this to be on Streamlabs to make it look a little cooler, so you don't see that Google watermark on the top right, or not top right, top left-hand corner. Hopefully next time this will be on Slobs.
Slobs, yes.
What is it? Streamlabs
OBS.
open broadcast system or software? Is it software or system?
It's one of those.
System. All right. Yeah. Or I think it's software. Software. Yeah. So hopefully next time it'll be all decked out and look really cool. Yeah. There'll be an intro and there'll be an outro.
Nice little subscriber pop up and donation and all that.
Yeah. But also too, even like when you were telling me to set up this thing before we started, the XSplit, maybe I see the watermarks showing up on your end.
Oh, really? XSplit has the watermark on my end.
Yeah, it does. I keep seeing it.
It doesn't show up on my my other videos. That's weird. Maybe it's just a YouTube thing.
Maybe. I don't know. Anyway, hopefully it'll be set up next time because we were trying to figure that out, but we had some technical difficulties.
Well, I'd like to also say to check out all of your stuff. Why Come Japan podcast, correct?
That's right. You find it on iTunes. Give us 5 stars.
Yes, both of us. Please like our work.
I don't know.
Please subscribe to Radrey's YouTube channel. You're out on iTunes as well, so subscribe to him on iTunes if you're on the go. And is there any other social media or any sites that you'd like to promote?
Yeah, that's it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it kind of feels shameless plugging this stuff, but I guess that's what you're supposed to do, right?
Yeah. I mean, you have what, Twitter, YouTube, Instagram, all the basic stuff. So just look for him.
In the description below.
Yeah, I'll have all of his links in my video below. So click on them. Enjoy. Check out his other podcast. You had Simon, not Hiko Simon, but the other Simon we know. Yeah,
the other Simon.
Yeah, sorry, Simon. He has his own solo show now, right? He used to be part of the Three Old.
He used to be part of Three Old Dudes. That's right.
Yeah. Simon no Chanoma, right? Yeah. So check out that, the last one. That was good. And his show is on now, right? I guess we're in.
No, actually, he messaged me. This is the shitty thing. He's not here, so I can say this. He actually made a mistake, and the show's on Sunday, so we could have started at 8:30, but that's okay.
Okay, well, no worries. But yeah, he was always cool. I always enjoyed talking with him. So check out his show as well. Kind of not even involved with this episode, but check him out. But I'll lead people to your podcast and your channel. Be sure to check Radrey out, and also check out some of my previous podcasts too. I have some awesome guests, so lots of free entertainment for you all.
I really need an outro at this point because like everything is just becomes awkward separation points.
No,
Something.
we'll just leave it at that. You could just end it with a giant loud fart sound, and that would work, right?
I could always edit that in, you know.
If you want.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, man, thanks for having me on, and thanks for being on mine. I appreciate it.
Yeah. Oh, I guess next week on the Why Come Japan show is Victor, also known as Fox. Not Gimme Breakman Victor, the other Victor. Maybe you wouldn't appreciate that moniker. Just Victor. Kanto Kitsune used to be on YouTube a while ago. He's the Instagram handle, Frame of Travel. He's a photographer on Instagram. Great guy. Be on the show next week.
All right, cool.
The schedule will be out soon.
Great. Thanks, man. Peace.
All right. Catch you later, guys. Bye.